I have this transmission, whatever you want to call it, out of this, and as you could probably, I don't know if you could hear it or not. Hear that roughness there? I think we're definitely onto something. Got all the bolts out of it. Just went ahead and did that. That's kind of boring. So, my copper hammer here. Yeah, it kind of resembles grease. Looks like it's been outside in the weather quite a bit. Kind of matches everything else about this thing. Gasket's pretty well seen better days. And that is not sounding very healthy. Oof, that's bad. Let's see how much of a press fit is on this. Using a brass drift just to knock this shaft out of this bearing. Well, I have to clean it up, of course, but it looks like we were fortunate that we were able to get this replaced before there was any damage, like the bearing locked up and spun, because I guess that's not uncommon on these. So, but this bearing here, it's not as bad, but there is some roughness. Well, I got everything all cleaned up here. These bearings were indeed bad. Got them pressed out of the housing. Got some new bearings. Here's the part number for the large bearing. This one here was very hard to, I had a hard time getting that bearing. Now this one here, this part number here, there we are. It wasn't so bad. That's used on a lot of like starters and alternators and what have you. Made me a new gasket, cleaned all the things up, so we're ready for assembly. I'm going to start by these aren't super tight fitting onto that shaft, so I'm going to just tap them down with a rawhide hammer. We'll go over here so the camera doesn't jiggle. I went ahead and pressed the gear and the end bearing and this bearing into the housings off camera. Really not a whole lot of action there, and I had to move all the camera around, so I just went ahead and did that. I'll provide these bearing numbers for the two end bearings for you. These are replacement bearings. They're not Caterpillar numbers. This larger number here, larger bearing here, is no longer available from Caterpillar, so I had to source it externally, and it wasn't exactly the easiest bearing I ever find. I mean, it didn't put up too much of a fight, but we'll just They make two different styles of these. They make one where the pulley bolts on, and they got a pulley that mounts with a nut and a lock and a nut. So the ones that have the 3 bolts that bolts the pulley on, from what I can tell, this shaft and that bearing are all made in one assembly. So they don't have that bearing. I think this is actually the newer version. I'm not 100% sure about that. Anyway, we got the housing cleaned up. This goes in here like this. Make sure you press this on here with the teeth with the taper. Goes towards the back of it where the starter pinion is. This is just a slip fit in here. And I made a gasket. Wasn't too difficult. I don't even know if these gaskets are even available from Caterpillar. I never looked. I pretty much decided to make my own gaskets pretty much all through this project if I can help it. All right. There's 2 pins that they line up with this here. So I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can just start one of these just for a guide, not pressing on with the bolts. I'm not supposed to do that. I'll try to find something to slide over that make a suitable driver. You wanna find something that will push on the center and not on the the inner race. Don't find anything that'll, and this will only hit this inner race and not hit the part with the bearings or the outside. So see if we can. Well, that's a neat sound. Wonder why that does. Oh, well, I assume that whenever we get the pulley here in just a minute and tighten it up, it's going to pull this shaft up into the bearing race, and that will keep that from hitting the housing. Kind of one of those scary moments right there, you know, whenever you say, well, what I do now? It happens. Always happens when it's on camera too, so the thing is you don't want to put the pulley on until you got it over on the tractor, because you know you got to take the only way, I don't know, some engineer somewhere along the line kind of, well, I guess in theory you'd have to take that dash panel off of these things to put the belt on that runs, you know, goes from here to the crankshaft of the pony engine. But you know, it seems like it's kind of odd where you have to put the belt on, then put the pulley on. But I guess this is just the only way that it will work. I think the first ones, I don't know which one come first, but according to what I got over here in the book, it says that this type with the press on, with the bolt on, with the one bolt, one nut pulley, not the 3 bolt pulley. This is the newer version of the 2. So it's like it's got this gasket in between there. There's no oil in here. These bearings are permanent lubricated. You know, they got seals made into them and everything. So there's really no point. You know, there's no oil or anything in here. So I'm gonna go get the pulley, and we're gonna put that on there just to press this up. So I'm gonna use the old lock and the nut and the pulley with no key just to pull it up. That way we can make sure that it's seated in there good. Alright, so we're going to put this pulley on here. I need to use the old lock. Put that on there. And this is the best thing I come up with to hold it with, was a oil filter wrench. Gotta put it on there the right way to hold things. Snugged up. Appears to seated right in. Well, we'll pull that all back off, get it on the tractor, get the pulley, the belt, get the pulley back on there, put the new lock that I made installed, and we'll see how it works. Well, I went ahead and put the everything back on the belt on, got the pulley torqued, got the fold over lock installed, went ahead and tensioned the belt. So I'm going to attempt to start this pony motor. It hasn't been started for a while, probably since about, probably a good month ago. So I went ahead and turned the gas on. So we'll see what happens. This is real live TV, I guess you could say. If it doesn't start, I'll show it.